The first thing I want to talk to you about today is the location, the setting of the film, or show as it may be. It's going to make up everything about the film or show, because it's where everything happens, and so it's imperative that every fictional film or show has a detailed, descriptive, and interesting world. This will allow everything else that we're going to be talking about to thrive. For example, characters are often built upon their interaction with not only each other, but the world around them as well. Every scene has to be accompanied by a fitting setting to set the mood of the scene and so ensure that the viewer can understand what the writers are trying to convey with that specific scene.
The next thing we're going to discuss is the use of music in these shows and films. They typically use music to set the scene, adjusting the intensity and mood of the music with that of the scene in question. Many characters also have their own theme songs that are made to sound unique and recognisable. An example of this in RWBY is the stark contrast between RWBY's theme, Red Like Roses Part 2, and Weiss' theme, Mirror Mirror. These themes typically fit the theme of the character and sometimes have lyrics that are meaningful to the character or allow the viewer to gain additional insight, such as RWBY's theme where she's having a discussion with her dead mother, and it provides the viewer with a medium through which they can understand the mother's thoughts and feelings about the event.
I would die without regret. 14, 13. With zero reservations, I would.
This can range from characters doing everything to achieve their dreams, to characters being summoned, transported, reincarnated, or truckened into another world. But the story trope I'm going to focus today is the tournament arc! Tournament arcs are storylines used in the genre often in order to show off new characters and their unique abilities, and how existing characters have grown stronger. Good examples of tournament arcs include the Sports Festival arc from My Hero Academia, and the Vital Festival from RWBY. Characters in animated action fiction are a large draw of the genre. Each character usually has their own unique abilities and personality, which can be based on a variety of fun cliches. One of the most common tropes of the genre is to have the main character and a best friend or rival character. The main character is either a goofball who isn't very good at the thing they do, such as ninjaing or heroing, or they are edgy and really good at the thing they do. To contrast this, the best friend or rival character has the opposite stereotype of the main character.
Another draw of animated action fiction is often the over-the-top weapons used by the characters. An excellent example of this would be RWBY, the show with the tagline,
"It's also a gun."
Oh. RWBY has an iconic weapon such as the Myrtlemaster, a rapier that is also a revolver, the Ember Celica's shotgun gauntlets, Ryu Bang and Jingle Bang, a large red bow staff that collapses into two nunchucks, which are each made of two flintlock pistols and a swordfish. Other examples of cool weapons are the Zanpakuto, a sword with souls and a personality from Bleach, or P-chan, a kawaii pink P90 with a face that notably unloads 1,100 rounds per minute, with 50 rounds in a clip.
Finally, I'm going to discuss Todorov's narrative theory, once again using RWBY as an example. Here, I will specifically be using Volume 2 of RWBY, but this theory can be applied to any of the volumes, and for that matter, most any work of fiction where a story is being told. The first part of Todorov's narrative theory is equilibrium, typically where the world is established as in a time of peace. Volume 2 comes right off the back of Volume 1, which ended with the last step of narrative theory, new equilibrium. This new equilibrium, where the conflict in Volume 1 is solved, becomes the starting equilibrium for Volume 2. Disruption of the equilibrium is where something goes wrong that ruins the peace that has been established already. In Volume 2 of RWBY, this is shown with one of the main four characters, Blake Belladonna, showing to be extremely anxious and worried about the future and about what she saw in the attempt to repair the damage from the first volume. Recognition of the disruption is when all of the good characters begin to understand the disruption and maybe look into it a little more. This is very clearly shown in Volume 2 of RWBY when the main team, followed by Sun Wukong and Neptune, scour the town searching for evidence in Volume 2 Chapters 3 and 4, a minor hiccup and painting the town. The penultimate step of this theory is an attempt to repair the damage, typically the longest part of the narrative theory, and where the heroes succeed in repairing damage in most fictional works. In this example, this is chapters 8 through 12 of the second volume of RWBY. It involves our 4 main characters accompanied by a professional huntsman, essentially superheroes in this universe, using the information they collected in the third step, as the name of this part would suggest, attempting to repair the damage. The final step of Todoro's narrative theory is the new equilibrium, where the damage is repaired in some way or another and a new time of peace has been established in the world. This is shown from 9 minutes in and onwards into chapter 12 of the second volume of RWBY, and, as in many other works, sets up for the starting equilibrium of a soon-to-come sequel.